It's Tim Albright with AVNation with the road to ISE. Integrated Systems Europe is back and in person. They've switched locations now. Now we're going to Barcelona. And with me is my favorite Texan by way of Canada, who now lives somewhere on the East Coast, Justin Kennington from SDVoE. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Tim. My favorite general St. Louis area, or
That works. Yeah, it's just general area.
my favorite Bears fan?
Yes, I'll take that. I'll take that all day.
5 Kangaroo 500, yes.
5 Kangaroo 500. I think you did that on purpose, to be honest about it. 5 Kangaroo 500, Hall 5. For those of us who have not been to the Fiera, and I am one of those, it's a little bit more symmetrical than the Rye.
Oh, yes.
The halls kind of flow together instead of having one over here and one over there. So Hall 5 is where we will find you. We walk into the SDVoE booth for the first time in a couple of years. What will we find?
You'll find coffee.
That's important.
We've got it catered for coffee. Actually, we've got a pretty laid-back approach to the booth itself this year, and that's because we're coming out of COVID. We're coming out of 2 years of not doing trade shows. I haven't been on a jet airplane since ISE 2020. I have been on a propeller plane since then. But we've got kind of a nice laid-back lounge concept. There's just furniture, there's places to sit, places to have a conversation, learn about SDVoE. There's also coffee and one demo, right? That just shows off the capabilities of the SDVoE platform, right? What do we mean? Because we're not only signal distribution, we're also signal management, signal processing. We can crop, we can scale, we can multi-view, we can video all that stuff. And then the hands-on aspect of that demo teaches you that when you look at it, hey, wait a minute, I've got 8 encoders and decoders here. Every single one of them is from a different manufacturer in our ecosystem. The switch is from someone else, from Netgear. We've got a Crestron controller on the system. We've got a controller from Excite, who you guys have probably heard making noise lately about their cloud-connected hardware as a service model, right? That's actually built into the SDVoE API now. And so we're going to show you some of the telemetry that you can get in your cloud, and even the ability to switch and manage the system from the cloud. So really, interoperability is a big focus of that demo, but the messages that we want to bring people is that now that, it's funny, Semtech is one of our founding members. They build some of the chipsets that go into SDVoE. Right about the time that the pandemic started and shut down our ability to talk about things at trade shows, Semtech finished an ASIC, a chip whose sole purpose is doing the SDVoE thing. And basically all other AV over IP systems are built on an FPGA. That's a programmable chip, which can perform every bit as well as an ASIC, but it does so at a much higher cost in dollars to buy the chip, and at a much higher cost in power consumption. So by having an ASIC, now we can do all the wonderful things SDVoE has always done with 80% less power consumption. And we've already seen our members coming out with products that are 30% cheaper than prior generations of product. So that ASIC is a big deal, and this show is actually our first time, even though the ASIC has now been shipping for almost 2 years, this is our first time to really have it out front and center in a trade show environment.
So I don't want to get too much into the weeds of chip manufacturing and all that jazz, but correct me if I'm wrong, an ASIC is, I know, it's your thing, it's what you geek out about. An ASIC is a single purpose chipset, whether an FPGA can be anything, and the reason that's important is nobody is looking to put a SDVoE ASIC into a Ford truck, right? You're not, your folks, your manufacturers are not standing in line behind the auto manufacturers, behind the other folks waiting on those chips as they are when it comes to the FPGAs, correct? Is that accurate?
Absolutely accurate. Now you're talking about product availability. And that's a really important note for people to take home. I talked about the power savings, the cost savings, but yeah, absolutely. It turns out this ASIC for SDVoE isn't good for anything other than doing SDVoE, right? So you're right. There's nothing else it's going to be used for. Whereas that FPGA, a programmable device that might power an SDVoE device, might also power a television set. It might also power a crypto miner. It might power a Ford truck. And in fact, we have seen the prices on FPGAs skyrocket in the last year or so. Now, to be clear, FPGAs were always more expensive than ASICs on a sort of per performance basis. You might even see, an ASIC that I can build for $10. I might need an FPGA that costs $50 to do the same job, or $100 to do the same job. However, why doesn't everyone use ASICs? Well, it costs $15 million to build the first ASIC, right? To design it and make it go, right? After that, they're real cheap. So you have to have volume to be able to get to an ASIC, right? And that's where SDVoE as an alliance is so important, because there's no manufacturer in the AV space. Even the big guys in Pro AV, they can't afford to build their own ASIC. Nobody does enough volume for it to justify itself. The upfront cost is so high, you'll never make it up. And that's why having this ecosystem of so many manufacturers, so many products using this same chip, it now becomes economically viable and gives us this massive power and cost and deliverability advantage, right? So SDVoE, if you poll our manufacturers, as I've recently done, many of them have products in stock right now. They have very short lead times, normal lead times for the things that may not be in stock. Go to sdvoe.org, look at our blog. Actually, I think the latest blog post, maybe 1 or 2 weeks ago, was about that very topic and how we've tackled it and how our members have products in stock. The fact that we have ASICs is a big part of that, because we don't have the competition for chipsets from other industries, which, by the way, might be much bigger, much richer industries. Oh, I didn't finish the story. I was talking about old world, the regular world of FPGAs being more expensive. In the last year or so, we've seen things like an FPGA that one of our manufacturers might pay $50 for. First of all, you can't get it anywhere. You can't buy it through the normal channels. So you call up, some gray market chip dealer in Taiwan, and yeah, we've got 1,000 of them in stock. They're $2,000 each. How many do you want? That was $50 6 months ago, and that's not inflation. That's that's supply and demand. There's no supply, and so if you really desperately need it, here you go. But when an SDVoE finished product might cost $2,000, nobody's paying $2,000 for the one chip that goes inside it. So this ASIC is a massive advantage for us in terms of product availability and just ability for us to deliver on system integrators' projects.
One quick thing before we let you get out of here. You said, obviously SDVoE manages signal. You guys process signal, you process audio, video. But one of the things that folks maybe not make the connection, you also process and control and route KVM, right? So talk about that for a second and kind of the strength behind that routing and that capability.
Yeah, so like you said, not only audio and video, but we can move USB signals alongside the audio and video. Most of you, I hope, are aware that SDVoE is a system built on 10 gigabit Ethernet. Internally to the chipset, we make sure that the video itself never consumes more than about 9 gigabits. It's often quite a bit less than that. What that means is there's always enough bandwidth left over for a full speed, or what's it called? It's actually called USB high speed, 480 megabits per second, USB 2. That bandwidth is always available so that you can take any USB 2 device, for an SDVoE device built to support this. Some don't support USB, but many do. If they've got a USB port, that's a good clue. And they will support all the way up to 480 megabits. We've seen other transport technologies. I'm going to pick on somebody. HD-Base-T, they support USB 2, but they can't support it all the way up to 480 megabits. If you're plugging in your keyboard, your mouse, that doesn't matter all the time. When you start plugging in mass storage devices, when you start plugging in high-end, webcams and things, suddenly they want all that bandwidth. Honestly, we get the question, what about USB 3? Over Ethernet, that's a whole other problem, right? Because now we're talking about 3 or 6 gigabits per second, right? Now I'm burning half my 10 gig link and I haven't even put video across it yet. These are problems that we and the industry will solve. But today, a full implementation of USB 2 with our partner Icron, by the way, that's a member of the SDVoE Alliance, and their chipset gets incorporated into the products that do this, can support any USB 2 device up to the maximum speed that device can support. So it looks like you're just transparently plugged in. That goes alongside all this audio and video with the maximum quality. So you can build KVMs, you can build hybrid conference room systems where you need to transport video around the room, but you also need to bring in web cameras and microphones and other USB devices. It makes a very powerful, very flexible system.
All right. 5K 500, 5 Kangaroo 500. Mr. Kennington, we will see you in Barcelona the 10th through the 13th of May. But if somebody is not going and they want to find out more about SDVoE, how do they do that?
head over to sdvoe.org. Follow us at SDVoE on Twitter. Find us SDVoE Alliance on LinkedIn. And I'd like to get one plug in for the SDVoE Academy. You'll find it there on our website. And the brand new course that's going up next week is an explainer on the difference between FPGAs and ASICs. So if you want to dig in a little bit deeper, tune into the SDVoE Academy next week.
Absolutely. All right. 5K5. Hall 5K500 is where we will find Mr. Kennington in Barcelona. For us, for AVNation, go by our website, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv, and follow along as we also head to Barcelona the 10th through the 13th of May for ISE 2022. All that and more at avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv.